Hey there folks, it's AFKay here with this week's A Chat in the Battleground. This week we're going to be talking about Ny'alotha, which opened up last week, and my initial thoughts going through it on normal difficulty. So let's get started. So let's begin with the aesthetics of it, I guess. We have a lot of people. Void is a bit of a meme in our raid group. So I think there's plenty of people that really like the aesthetics of it. I like the skybox. A lot of people have noted on the skybox. So that's really nice. And overall, no matter what people will say about the cutscene, I've seen it, but we haven't seen it officially in the game. Whatever people say about it, it can't take away from the raid itself, which looks good, and I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. Maybe that's catweaving, maybe that's not, who knows. But let's go through the bosses. Or actually, before we go through the bosses, let's talk about the trash, which there's a lot of it, but honestly, some of it's pretty interesting, and there is something that you can never really prepare for in a raid. You can watch all the boss fights you want, but normally it's the trash that really gets you that first week, that first pull. So it's one of the great feelings I think about a brand new raid. It's knowing that you have that coming. So, boss 1, Rathian. For a first boss, he actually caused us like some of the most issues. Week 1, week 2, they played it perfectly fine. But I think a lot of it was the mechanics are quite impactful and not relatively new per se, but having the experience of what it looks like and knowing how it all works, I think will do wonders for that boss. We went for Mort second, which Mort was certainly harder than Prophet, and in future we're going Prophet first. I'm pretty sure even on heroic route, that is the way you normally want to go, is Mort first. Not Mort first. That's exactly what I was not going to say. Yeah, going for Mort third. So he's a boss that really emphasises, I think, not the issues of the dungeon, but something that I've noticed, and maybe it's happened before, but I'm noticing a lot more now with our 13 number raid composition, which is how the raid damage really sort of ebbs and flows between quite low and quite high, and it's really put a lot of emphasis on us going for sort of 2.5 healers to fill out those numbers, really. We also changed our strategy on Mott. We were killing the ads before, again, really showed how little damage there was, because I got to spend a lot of time DPS on the ads. But after deciding not to kill the ads and going this week, we cut our time down for 3 minutes. I even got to do a bit of tanking there, just popping in to keep the ads steady. I think we can still probably improve on the strategy slightly, but on the whole, I'm pretty happy with how it's going. Prophet. What can I really say about Prophet on normal? He has like 3 mechanics, very easy. It's an interesting gimmick, and I look forward to on heroic, where it's hopefully the staying in the ad phase too long is much more punishing. And the walking old men, which as somebody who has mass entanglement, I'm a fan of. But on normal difficulty, I think there could have been just something more maybe. Football boss, I can't actually remember her name. But the difference between week 1 and week 2 there. Week 1, everyone did the football, like apart from the tanks and a few healers, and it all seemed like everything was going fine. And then the next week, we just seemed to have an issue with it, really. We had 2 failures on it, and we would have really got a wipe if we hadn't got quite lucky with some people who did survive the damage. I was not aware that failing once was bad. I didn't realise that it gave a stacking buff that meant failing the second time was a wipe. As it wasn't actually a wipe, but it was effectively a wipe, and everyone understood that it deserved to be a wipe, and they basically just got lucky there. Vexiona's trash. Great place to be a somebody who can ninja. A nice little DPS orb for as a healer. Always nice to show those DPS a thing or two. But she's very similar in my mind to Raden in that their phase 1 and 2 are pretty simple. I try and organise her phase 2 like a bit better. It's not always going that way, I feel, but I try my best to try and keep it organised. It's not going the best all the time, but you do what you can. But for phase 3, it's such a stark contrast, and it goes back to the damage patterns again as well, that everything just hits not hard, it's just a big step up, and the ramping attack damage on everyone. We performed it a lot better week 2 than we did week 1, but that's still something that I worry a bit about, especially since I can't try and go on the move anymore. But that's an Edwin boss, because Hive Mind, who we did afterwards, was just really easy. I mean, that was the first time that I got a really high DPS rating on World Logs in week 1. That was the only one that I got really high in week 1. So to get one of those in again this week, that's really nice. It's a nice little boss, I think, to practice this thing on, really. Let's go quite badly. Raden again goes back to pretty much Vexiona. His phase 1 and 2 is like, they're interesting. Don't get me wrong. I do enjoy a bit of sorting out about how things are going, but they're not exactly the most difficult sections of the fight. Yeah, I should get rid of them. Sorry, I've done one of these earlier and I was not concentrating enough, and I realised that is an issue, and I really should be concentrating more on these sort of things. So, going back to Raden, I say phase 1 and phase 2, they're interesting. I've enjoyed sorting out the bouncing, particularly the orb thing. I feel we got a lot better at that. It was very clean this week. Not quite enough, I think, to push stripping the second phase 2, the shadow phase, but we'll get there eventually. Well, I mean, we'll be doing it on heroic before we get there eventually, to be fair. But phase 3, a lot better this week round, but still some really hefty damage going out. The chains, we could probably do better on, and we were certainly doing better this week than we were on dodging the shadow swirlies. But going back to another start of win boss, the dog, Shatar. Honestly, you know, it's your simple patchwork boss. It's not going to be the most complex thing in the world, but I do like my patchwork bosses to be quick and not overly laborious. I like the fact that it's got sort of mini enrage phases. That's really good, and it's another boss where you get some pretty intensive healing requirements sometimes, but then there's also plenty of times where there isn't really that much to heal at all. So it's a good mix, in my opinion. Dressligath's a really interesting one for me. Part of me likes him, but part of me doesn't really. It's one of the most absolute cop-out answers you're ever going to get. But I feel with Dressligath, as of right now on normal, and it's a lot with it's the same with a lot of these sort of ad-based bosses, particularly one where you can't DPS the boss in between, or most people can't DPS the boss in between. That when you're overgearing it, it does feel quite downtimey, quite slow. It can be really fun, like when the ads are up, and I have like some heroic concerns because we still probably make a few little mistakes on it. But on normal difficulty, it's I'm not so sure. Il'gynneth is the only boss we haven't killed so far this week. We killed it last week. As I say, I haven't said actually, but on our first week we killed 4 bosses on the Wednesday, then we killed Il'gynneth and everything else before it on the following week. Very close. This week, not sure about looking at more than control. Again, all the Edwin bosses have really gotten not difficult towards the end, but there's a much more emphasis on softening rages of the fights, and that's been pretty interesting, pretty fun. It can just be a bit of a concern sometimes, really. But I have confidence that we're going to get through it relatively easily this time round. And I say this means this week, really looking at Ny'alotha, I think Ny'alotha looks pretty nice, so we'll really see how that goes. And hopefully, I mean, fingers crossed, maybe we even get a chance to look at Heroic Rathian this week, but main priority is just to be getting down Il'gynneth, should be very quick, and then working on the 2 Ny'aloths, which, based on how we've done so far in the raid, I don't think should pose too many issues. So that's my thoughts on Ny'alotha so far. I know there's still plenty of Ny'alotha left to go, but you know, we're doing what we can, just raiding what times we can. And we're taking a bit of a beating here. To the last person, but I suppose they were demons, which means their damage is going down. So really, we are currently bottom. Just not finding the Soul Juggler's pointless there. All of this is a bit bad. Another one of those. But what can we really get here if we have no taunts? That's the one that we've already sold there. So the edge is buffed up enough, it doesn't really need much more. So I think we just make this as large as we can. What did we want to do for these things in? Up against Sylvanas' top, right. So only 2 beasts, which means, what heaven are they at? Heaven 5, so they do have the potentials of having the Death Rattle beast combination. If that is the case, we're going out this round. If it is more, I mean, there's only 2 beasts. What can they really do with 2 beasts? I mean, there was 2 beasts at the end of last round. We'll see. I haven't really found as much of the map passages as I was really hoping for. But we'll see what the setup looks like here. Actually, so they haven't got a huge amount. This sort of, we caught them as they're still forming. We could really do a chill on that 6-1 before too many things get bad. Everything's just living by 1. This is really quite strange. That's really bad for us. Oh no, actually, all his 2/2s are attacking first. No, this has worked out very well for us. I take back everything I just said. This should be a win for us. pretty good win for us actually. We kept one of our big ones alive, which means we're battling to stay alive now. And there I was trying to get through the raid quickly. Right, demon guy went out. That's pretty good. Right, so we definitely want to make sure, and that's a mech that we're probably going to end up having to keep. Do we want another? Oh no, we've already got the golden one, we don't really use it. Wow, I really use it, but this is good. So, let's ditch you. And these are all the mechs that we're keeping. No, we'll ditch the 4, 3. Play this. Do we want to buy another one? Sell it. No, we're doing this. Yes, we do want to buy another one and sell it, which is that is strictly the smart idea to do. There's no question about it, that's what we're doing. Strongest minion. Doesn't really matter the strongest minion actually, because we need to sell it anyway. And what do we want to buff here? We should keep buffing up our 11, 13. I think I'm going to need to upgrade the tavern next turn. But for now, this looks pretty good. What is he? Mechs. Yeah, okay, so Daryl's actually having a strong attack second. Hopefully he only has the one taunt. See, this is the sort of mech approach I would be looking for. But I think positioning wise, it's been alright. What tavern tier is he at? It's at 4, which means we really need to do a lot of work here. Good news is he's really wasting some of his divine shields, which to do with farming. Nope. Not giving him divine shields, that's good, that gives us the extra. Oh no, this is going to be a... There's going to be a draw. Oh, we'll take the draw. But the key thing is now we need to get stronger if we're going to upgrade. Don't really want to... do we get another one of those just to get a triple? But we've got a few of our mech buffing boys. And what do we want to buff up with our 2-5? Do we just keep going for the... It's the dead guy. Do we just keep going for the 16-16? I think the more health is got... Maybe this is wrong, but I do quite like it. We're at 4 now, so we can start finding the golden ones of these, particularly looking for the Taunt Divine Shield, magnetized one. If given this Divine Shield would be fantastic. Obviously, still looking for the 6-3 that regains Divine Shield whenever we summon a mech. We have 4 mech summoners. 2 of them have been already taken by Daryl up here. Have we got any other mechs? Alright, so Amzarak, Akazamasarak, my apologies, Nirain Garcia, for butchering your favourite mage. Beasts. Oh no, I am mechs, that's me. Right. So. This is the... Did we draw into this guy last time? No, we lost against this guy very slightly. Haven't really got our 2-2 into the action yet. That'll probably really define how stuff goes. But yeah, this seems perfectly safe for us. I'm not quite entirely sure why I was worried when I still got this guy. Now, when we can get a golden one of him, that'll be pretty good. No one went out though, so we haven't guaranteed ourselves top 4. We'll take another egg. Not quite sure we'll be playing it yet. Wow, this is not going too well. I think we do play the egg. It's a bit of a risk. Playing the egg. But we can put it so it attacks. Probably have it out first. What we got? We've got demons here. So if he's low but he's not losing, it probably means he's pretty big demons. probably means no divine shields, which means maybe we do go for our 23. We just go for our high attack guys first and try and push through. Our 8 health probably not going to die to anything like that. No, I think it's maybe a bit of a risk, but this is a very strong composition though. He's going to be at a high talent tier of 4, which means that we really need to kill an awful lot here, and I just don't see us killing an awful lot here, to be honest. We're just going to get killed by a 6/6. So we can potentially get joint 4th if someone else goes out, but I think this was really a guy to avoid, not that we already knew it. Yeah, these guys are worth 4. Oh no! No, I think we're actually going to survive on 1. Oh, I think quite a few things went my way there. Clearly counting myself out, which means we've made top 4. So now what do we want? We certainly need to buy stuff. Is our 2/2 going to be the best random thing that we can find? Probably not. And now it's looking like it may well have been. Oh no, this will do. So, what are we ditching here? Now that is the real question here. I bought stuff to ditch, and I'm not quite sure we actually are. I think we're just buying stuff and buffing. Probably this guy, he's served us well so far. This was another mech guy, this was the mechs that we wanted. So, how many Torn Divine Shields did we have last time? Does that already dictate what I think he only had the 1. So we'll put the 2/7 there. That's our best Divine Shield popper. Is there any other changes I want to make? I suppose the 16th Divine having a 1/1 spawn earlier means we can start work on popping the 1/1s, the Divine Shields, but then he's going to reform them actually, so maybe we do want the 1/1s closer towards the end. The 24/8 dying gives us more space as soon as possible, and we'll see what his layout is like now. Nice. Well, that's not too bad for us. So he's combined his golden mechs. Oh, he's got a cleave now. All of a sudden, my lack of concerns are going into an actual concern here. As we'll really see how much our 23 got. Oh, okay, he didn't carry us as much as I hoped he would. No, we lost by 3 microbots. That is close. Would have been a nice draw otherwise. But we got top 4, so I'm happy with that. Thank you all for watching. And next week, I haven't got a copy of the conversation, but I'm sure I'll have one by then. So, we'll hear from you. Hear from you? No, you'll hear from me then.